Hey everybody, welcome back to 10 Minutes with CJ Corin, a vlog about my blog, a blog for the Christian and Christian writer. So today's episode comes from the blog post in my blog called Sex and the Christian Author. So I've noticed in my Christian walk that the idea of sex, whether it's in movies, it's in television, or in books, it's a pretty controversial subject. I'm a real big moviegoer. I love to sit home and watch TV and movies, and I love to go to the movies. And I've noticed that there are a lot of great movies that they have sex scenes, and then it just, to me, it kind of diminishes the quality of the movie. A really good example, in my opinion, of this idea that, in this case, it's a TV show that was really great, and then they added sex to it, and then it just diminished it entirely. It was is the show The Magicians. About halfway through the first season, they started introducing this sex magic, which, kind of, to me, it kind of ruined it, the show. And then they started adding all these like sex scenes with different characters, and it really made me think that the show wasn't that great anymore, and all because it just had the sex scenes in it, right? So with that said, I want to get into my main topic, which is, as Christians, is it okay for us to write sex scenes in our fiction, whether it's geared towards Christians or mainstream books, right? My political answer is that's between you and God. My personal answer is I think it just depends on how graphic the sex scene is. Personally, as a believer, I don't really understand how somebody who is a believer can really write those extremely graphic scenes, that leaves absolutely nothing open to the imagination in fiction, in fiction books. But that's my opinion, and the reason I say that is because I think of a couple things in books specifically. You have the visual image that the author is trying to portray in writing it, and then you have the visual image that the reader gets when they read it. And then not only that, but there's the feeling of lust that could possibly come from reading that or even writing that. On the flip side of that, there's if there's a scene that has a real character with real life scenario, for example, a couple that just got married, the wedding night. There's an expectation there that you know what is going to happen. The question is, how much do we need to visualize that scene, especially as believers? Now, we can all agree, in movies at least, that there's a big difference in the extremely graphic, like Game of Thrones type scenes, and then the scenes where the couple, they start kissing and then they toss a couple clothes away, and then it jumps to the scene of them being all wrapped up in a sheet or blanket. We can all agree that there's a difference in that kind of scene. Both scenes let us know what's going on. The latter scene gives us an idea of what happened, but it doesn't get into specifics. So we know what is going on, but the less graphic scene, we don't have a specific idea. I mean, we don't have a specific visualization, but we know, in essence, what's going on because most people know what happens at the wedding night. So, with all that said, it is my opinion that we believers, we Christians, can have sex scenes in our books, but in writing them, we should write them as discreetly as possible, as non-graphic as possible, that still gets the idea across. Now, I do have some personal experience regarding this particular idea. I have two books that have sex scenes in them. Now, I tend to think of more of lead up to sex scenes because they don't actually, the scene stops before they actually do anything, right? But one of them is, a married couple. The other one is a seduction scene, right? And I think they're both pretty necessary. The seduction scene is necessary to the entire plot of the story. The other scene is not necessarily absolutely necessary, but in that particular book, nothing is absolutely necessary. It's like the everyday lives of characters. So I had to figure out a way to write them to where they could be generic and non-graphic, yet still get the idea that I was going for in that scene. I think I did a pretty good job in writing those scenes without compromising my integrity as a Christian writer or bringing the reader into an unnecessary visualization. I personally believe that both those scenes are suitable for the Christian audience and the secular audience, and vague enough to not entice the reader into more graphic thoughts of the scenes, but they also get the general feelings I was going for in the scenes. To sum it all up, I don't personally believe that it is necessarily wrong to write a sexually charged scene, depending on how graphic that scene actually is. But if you do decide to write a sexually charged scene as a Christian writer, think about trying to be as vague and generic and non-graphic as possible when writing your sex scene. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will leave a link in my description for that specific blog post, which has quite a bit more than what I just spoke on here. So if you'd like, go back, you can read it all. Thanks for watching.